Together with 4 Michelin-starred chefs, we've
Well, today a fired Florida police officer was charged in the fatal shooting of a 31-year-old man who was stranded.
Mic check, mic check. Can you hear me now? All right, there you go. Glad I checked that out. How you guys doing? This is Ty. We out here Tuesday, February 5th. Thank you. Who was that? Just gave that. Jean or Jean Genevieve. Time for the real coup. What's happening, y'all? I'm going to try to read some of y'all what's going on. I'm going to try to read some of you guys' messages today. Jordan said I should try to do more of that. It's kind of difficult for me, you know what I'm saying? Because, you know, when you get used to a thing and you start doing a thing and it's like, you know, you don't want any, I'm scared of silence. You know, when you first start a relationship, you can't comfortably sit in silence with that person. You always feel like you need to say something. That's how I feel in this new relationship. Like, I need to, you know, always say something instead of like being silent. Who's it? Jamal? You know, he's pretty like calm, cool, and collected when he's live, and he's chill. Jordan is kind of like straight. He got it going on, and he can just do, you know, multitask while he's in there. But me, I'm so preoccupied in my head. Oh, I got to do X, Y, Z. So I'd be lightweight nervous. But anyway, what's up? What's happening? Audio working fine. Okay, perfect. No audio issues. We were having a lot of audio issues on Sunday, and we had to change systems, but we're getting that together. Actually, Wirecast has been having, as I'm looking at the videos and things, they've been having a lot of like people complaining about the audio and things like that. So I guess it's been an issue that they're addressing. But anyway, how you guys doing? Some things in the news that I want to discuss today. It's Tuesday, sunny, California, but it's been raining a little bit. My shoulder's still hurting. You know, it's crazy. My shoulder only hurts when I like sit down and stuff. If I stand up, then I'm kind of like cool, kind of. for a minute, but then like I sit down and I feel like, I don't know if it jerks or whatever, but it starts hurting. But I want to get into some subjects. I want to like speak on Ralph Nader. I saw, I think it was Anderson Cooper, 360, and Cornel West was on there. And he said something that I want you guys to hear, and I want to like have some dialogue about. He addressed obviously the issue of Ralph Nader, what he needs to do, but he got into a broader context of white supremacy. Because white supremacy is not it's not directed, or it's not, primarily in, we think white supremacy, we think Ku Klux Klan outfits, we think, hanging and lynching and segregation and slavery and those things. But he talks about it in the context of everything that's what's going on. Who's that, Patrick? What's happening, player? Thanks for the $2. He's talking about everything that minimizes or marginalizes groups, the LGBT community, women, anything that marginalizes Palestine. He kind of puts it in a larger context of how we need to battle that, like the way, like it's easy to look at someone in a Klan outfit and blackface and say, oh, you're not right, you're racist. That's an easy thing. But it's not easy to call out racism when you see a country being, occupied and oppressed, or when you see someone that's of the LGBTQ community being harassed or, beat and things like that. The obvious is easy. You don't need heart to do the obvious, but the hard work is when you can look underline. And he kind of put moderate Democrats on blast saying, you guys voted him in office. Why? Bernie Sanders went and sponsored, the guy that was running against him, during the primary. I mean, not during the primary, but yeah, during the primary. Like, there was a progressive candidate that you guys didn't even look at, but you voted him in the office. Like, what did that? And now you guys trying to get him out because this overtly, like, you didn't see that before, and you had. Someone else brought up hold on, let me post this. Sorry about that. Angela Rye also brought up the fact that, I guess they have sample ballots before a candidate runs, and how Ralph Nader didn't put his black lieutenant governor on the ballot, on the sample ballot. What does that say about who that man is? So I want you guys to we're gonna check that out. What we got going on? Gentrification. Who's this? Blood money. Gentrification harder to talk about than getting mad at some idiot in blackface. Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of what he was saying. He said Black Money said gentrification is something harder to talk about. What happens because of gentrification, or what happens when gentrification happens, the process and how it pushes out poor people, and specifically poor people of color. Like, those things are not addressed at all, really. No one really talks about gentrification in Congress and things like that. That's something that you really don't want to touch because it's not blackface. It's not something you can see and go against. Like, that doesn't take courage to go against blackface is kind of what the guy was saying. Israel needs a separation of church and state. They are the shield where all the alt-right says, I can't be racist because I support Israel. That's an interesting concept. Wow. That, it's who said that? This is Danibles. I think I feel you on that. I feel you on that. You can hide behind supporting Israel and say, I'm not racist because I support Israel. You know what I mean? As if Jewish people aren't white. I don't get that. Jewish people are white. and that's a sort of a huge part of supremacy. You know what I mean? It's taking a thing and saying we're better than you, or this is what we're going to do, and overpowering a certain group, certain community, and not giving them the same rights that anyone else would have. Like it's the same dynamic. Period. Point blank. I did say Ralph Northam. Did I say Ralph Nader? My bad. Ralph Northam. I got Jordan on here. Let me leave Jordan alone. Shit. But first off, I want to acknowledge that today is Trayvon Martin's would-be 24th birthday. And just want to acknowledge that and send his family, his spirit love. And in acknowledgement of it, I kind of want to just look at, where we are today and how that law, the Stand Your Ground law, has been manipulated and being used to, that's a form of white supremacy. I mean, you look at the Stand Your Ground law and you can look at it in Florida, and this is what I'm going to talk about just for a little bit, and see the discrepancy between black people that use the Stand Your Ground law as a defense and white people that use Stand Your Ground law as a defense, because what happens with the Stand Your Ground law, if you kill someone, you can, if the police show up and say, oh, I felt threatened, stand your ground. Legally, they're not supposed to arrest you. So if you see a lot of when you see a lot of people that say, I was standing my ground, they won't get arrested initially, and then you'll go to court and things like that. And then the judge will then determine, okay, was he standing his ground, or will we charge him for murder and he has to go to trial? And that's kind of what happens. And so in Florida, there's a distinct discrepancy against when it comes to black people claiming the Stand Your Ground law versus white people claiming the Stand Your Ground law. And I want to kind of read this article right here on Frontline, and it's, you guys can see it. It reads, there is a, let me make sure you guys can hear me. Mic check. All right. So it says, there's a clear racial bias in the Stand Your Ground law. And all this kind of talks about the Stand Your Ground law. The Florida killing of Trayvon Martin, an unarmed black man. This is actually published in 2012. This is 2012. Then I have an update for you guys. But the Florida killing of Trayvon Martin, an unarmed black teenager, earlier this year has brought national attention to the laws that allow people to use lethal force to defend themselves. At least 20 states, it's way more states than that right now. At least 20 states have the law with provisions that don't require civilians to flee from the intruder before fighting back, according to the National Conference of State Legislatures. Of those, 8 states, all of them in the South, specifically use the phrase "stand your ground," that includes Florida. So, since Martin's killing, George Zimmerman invoked the Stand Your Ground law defense, these laws have been defended by gun right groups for empowering civilians. They're also been criticized by civil rights groups for encouraging violence and being racially biased. So I'm going to skip all the way down because this is kind of what I want you guys to see. So Roman is the person who also did the survey and was doing the study on this. So Roman also found that the Stand Your Ground law tends to track the existing racial discrepancies in homicide convictions across the U.S. Without the significant exception, whites who kill blacks in Stand Your Ground states are more likely to be found justified in their killings. In non-Stand Your Ground states, whites are 250% more likely to be found justified in killing a black person than a white person who kills another white person. Okay, so let me read that again so you guys can get it. So, in the non-Stand Your Ground states, so the non-Stand Your Ground states are states that have a Stand Your Ground law, right? But well, the non-stand your ground states, stand your ground, all stand your ground. So the non-stand your ground states is just the stand your ground, the non-stand your ground states. So that's my bad. So the non-stand your ground states is not like the people. It's actually the people that have the law, like the castle law. They have a castle law where if someone breaks in your house, and it has to be in your home, in your property, you have the right to say, you know, get out. I can show you guys the actual law right here. If you guys can see it, the castle law, the castle doctrine. So it says no duty to retreat before using deadly force if you are in your home or in your yard. Some states include places of work and occupation and occupied vehicles as well. So that says any place that's like your property kind of. Then others, you know, have amendments that allow you to have it at work or something. Then you have the duty to retreat law, where the duty to retreat is like if you feel a threatening situation, you have the duty to flee and get away if it's safe for you to, completely safe for you to evacuate the situation. So those are the three kind of laws that occupy the states throughout the nation. So in the non-stand your ground states, whites are 250% more likely to be found justified in killing a black person than a white person who kills another white person. In the stand your ground states, the number jumps to 354%. 354% of whites are more likely to be found justified in a homicide when they use the stand your ground argument than black people are. 354%. You can see the breakdown of the killings in the chart below. The figures represent the percentage likelihood that the deaths will be found justified in comparing white killings, which was the baseline for Rome's use of comparison. So if you guys look at this, just bring it up a little bit so you can see it. And now you should be able to see it. So right now, you guys see, so black is for all, which is, you know, and then the purple is stand your ground law. So if you see right here, it says a black killing a black person. They are negative. Negative. In each state, negative whatever. 25%, look like 20, 30%, 5%. Like they always get convicted. If it's a black on black, whether it's a stand your ground state, non-stand your ground state, or all the above, you know. If it's a black killing a white, same circumstance, you guys can see it. That's amazing, right? White killing black, look at this. So you see the racial divide. Now, this is statistics. These are things that people have been convicted, went to trial on, and been convicted on, and been justified on, and been cleared of murder. Excuse me, I'm sorry. And been cleared of murder. So you see, and if you can see here, these are all the states that have the stand your ground law. So all the states in red has some draft, some form of the stand your ground law. Mind you, the stand your ground law was a law drafted by, I forgot her name, but she works for the NRA. It was drafted by her and sponsored by ALEC, which is funded by the Koch brothers. So if you look here, you see these are all the states. Now you see this is way more than 20 states that has some form, some draft of the stand your ground law. You can see at the bottom that it has some form of a draft of the stand your ground law. Recently, there is a guy that is a police officer that is using the stand your ground law as a defense right now. What he's saying is this police officer killed a black guy. This police officer killed a black man while he was sitting waiting for a tow truck. And I don't think this clip has the recording on it, but thank God he was on the phone with the tow company, and the tow company has the recording, got the recording. They have it in the courts as he is being shot, and you see that the police officer was lying when he said the guy was approaching him. So now the police officer was trying to use the stand your ground law as a defense. Now this is a plainclothes police officer as well. So mind you, black guy on the side of the road waiting for the tow truck, and a police officer who looks like just a regular person, no uniform, approaches him and try to ask him what is he doing, and ends up killing this guy. This actually just happened. It's still being processed right now. I just want you guys to see the clip. I know you probably heard it. Let's see.
Well, today a fire.
Let me see.
Well, today a fired Florida police officer was charged in the fatal shooting of a 31-year-old man who was stranded on a highway in the middle of the night last October. The victim was armed legally. Prosecutors say the actions of the plainclothes cop in Well, today a fired Florida police officer was charged in the fatal shooting of a 31-year-old man who was stranded on a highway in the middle of the night last October. The victim was armed legally. Well, today a fired Florida police officer was charged in the fatal shooting of a 31-year-old man who was stranded on a highway in the middle of the night last October. The victim was armed. Well, today a fired Florida police officer was charged in the fatal shooting of a 31-year-old man who was stranded on a highway in the middle of the night last October. The victim was armed legally. Prosecutors say the actions of the plainclothes cop in Palm Beach Gardens were grossly negligent. Here's David Begnaud.
Corey Jones died waiting for help. Last October, the South Florida drummer's vehicle broke down. He was on the phone with roadside assistance when Officer Newman Raja, wearing no badge and in casual clothes, pulled up and confronted him. That's according to cell phone transcripts released today. Raja, you good? Jones, I'm good. Really? Yeah, I'm good. Moments later, get your hands up. Get your hands up. Hold on. Get your hands up. Drop. At that point, Raja fired 3 shots. He later claimed Jones pulled his gun. Raja fired 3 additional shots, 1 second apart as Jones ran away.
The grand jury today found that the use of force by Mr. Raja was unjustified.
David Ehrenberg is the state's attorney.
This office has charged Mr. Raja with 2 counts. 1 count of manslaughter by culpable negligence and 1 count of attempted first-degree murder with a firearm.
The arrest report says at no time did Raja ever identify himself as a police officer, nor was he wearing a police vest, even though his supervisor had ordered him to do so. One of those bullets passed through Corey Jones' heart and lungs. His family said today this arrest sends a message that this conduct will not be tolerated from members of law enforcement. No comment tonight from the fired officer's legal team. Scott, that affidavit makes it very clear. Corey Jones never fired his loaded weapon, which he had just purchased 3 days before he was killed.
And the officer could face up to life in prison. David Begnaud on the story for us tonight. David, thank you. Well, today a
I always forget I turned down the mic so you guys won't hear me while the video's going on. But yeah, this is something that happened in 2016. And it's been prolonged and pushed back. The defense kept changing their argument. They went initially for that the guy tried to attack him, and it was a stand your ground law, and he was trying to use stand your ground. And mind you, what's amazing about this law, now, public officials don't have the same rights as citizens when they're in their public, and when they're in their capacity as a public official. They don't have the same rights, right? And he was trying to use the stand your ground law because he was in plain clothes, and I think they were doing something else. So that was why he was trying to actually use the stand your ground law. And so you can see that nothing's really changed from that. You have more states now that has adopted the stand your ground law that allows people to just, the stand your ground law, the law says if the perception is all on the person that has the gun, which is problematic in itself, right? We're saying that if you yourself, without anyone else, perceive that you're in danger, then you have the right to stand your ground and use lethal force. You know what I mean? So what if I just I'm scared of black people because of whatever, or I'm scared of Hispanics because of whatever, whatever perception I have of them, or Muslims, because of whatever. And just because they're approaching me now, I feel threatened and I can shoot them and use the stand your ground law. There's a good documentary on HBO. I think it's called 3.5 Seconds. And it talks about another kid that was shot and killed because he was playing his music too loud in Florida. And the guy used the stand your ground law. It actually worked. He went to trial. They did stand your ground law. There was an appeal. And now he's in jail for life. But yeah, they tried to use that defense. And a lot of people try to use the defense. And you see that how the defense works and the discrepancies on that defense based on your color or based on you being in law enforcement. You know what I'm saying? Zigerman's father was a judge, and because they have the bias in law enforcement as well, to me, I feel you can be black, white, Chinese, or whatever as a police officer. If you're trained in a corrupt system, you're corrupt. You're racist because it trains you to be racist. It trains you to profile people based on how they look and suspect them of being a suspect based on how they look. They train you. So you don't have to be black, white. You don't have to be white. As a police officer, you can be any color. If you're trained under that system, you're trained in a racist system, a bigoted system that targets people, then you are that. Period, point blank. Period, point blank. And that's a form of white supremacy. You got to understand what white supremacy is. We adopt white supremacy. You know what I mean? The idea of it, it's almost like assimilation. When it's a part of a culture and it's a part of a way of living, we start then to adapt that thing. And rather it's black people, black Christians or something, putting on the LGBTQ community, that's adapting that, saying, no, you're less than because. That's what the idea of it. White supremacy doesn't mean you're white, right? I mean, it came from that, but it doesn't mean you're white. Just as the example that I used the other day about what happened with JFK during the 1960 election when he had to go talk to all these evangelicals to convince them that he's not going to be doing the work of the Pope because he was Catholic, Irish Catholic. You know what I mean? That's what I'm talking about. So don't be confused and think. I'm talking about an ideology, okay? An ideology. All right? So don't be distracted by the word white supremacy, right? It's ideology. I'm not saying the majority of people that adopted as white, it came from that, but it's an idea that one thing is better than another, and for that reason, we can, subjugate you, right? But anyway, I just wanted to touch on that and just say what's up, give my respects to Trayvon Martin and anyone that has to deal with this unlawful law that is definitely biased toward white people. And getting back to Ralph Nader, I want to show you guys this video of Cornel West having a discussion with Anderson Cooper. I thought it was amazing, and it was a great discussion about this idea of and how we're approaching white supremacy and what more should we do, and not just looking at it as black and white, you know. And it's always my argument, right? Nuance. Everything is nuanced. And that needs to be understood. It needs to be clear, because if you don't see things as nuanced and see things as weaving instead of just one way, then you know we're going to be blocked, and we're going to be what we're going to be doing then is that form of white. That's a form of white supremacy right there. It really is. So let's go to this video and then we'll discuss it afterwards.
Joining us now is Cornel West, professor of the practice of public philosophy at Harvard University and professor emeritus at Princeton. Dr. West, it's always good to have you. Should the governor resign?
Always good. Well, I think that he has a very weak argument in staying, and so I think he probably does have to go. But I think we got to put this in the larger context, my brother, that the ugly legacy of white supremacy takes a number of different forms. The Klan's one form, blackface is another, decrepit housing's another, poverty rates, disproportionate black, brown, and red's another, unemployment, underemployment is another. When we talk about white supremacy, we can't just fetishize one individual and then trash that individual. It's too easy. It's too self-righteous. It doesn't take too much courage to come down on somebody who's in blackface and wants to dance like Michael Jackson or ends up with this on this page, whether it's him or not, and that's still an important fact. Unfortunately, he is a product of this vicious white supremacist culture, and he can change. He does not have to be a racist for life. He can end up being a strong anti-racist. That was 35 years ago. So it's not a question of whether he himself is going to not either be in office or not be in office. This is a larger tradition. And how do we fight white supremacy, no matter what color we are? I'm concerned about the quality of his soul and life after he leaves. This is what First Baptist brothers and sisters in Capeville are concerned about. He doesn't have to remain locked into this racist perception. He can do a whole host of things that can show the legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. and Fannie Lou Hamer mean something to him, that the legacy of Ann Braden means something to him. But I'm a little disturbed, my brother, about these liberal centrist Democrats who can trash his brother so easily when they just supported him a few months ago. I see Brother Bernie Sanders supported his progressive candidate, right? The same person they're trashing, they support it. Well, where's the principle? Where's morality? Where's integrity? Where's an acknowledgement that white supremacy is shot through all of us, including black people? That's how deep it cuts in this nation. And who's going to fight for it? How you going to fight for it? That's what we need to talk about as much as just trashing his brother and kicking him when he's down. I think, you know, he's in trouble and he's got to go, but that's not the conclusion. That's just a starting point of a serious discussion of how we're going to fight against white supremacy, beginning with poor black, poor brown, poor yellow, and working class people of color.
Well, I hear what you're saying. We've talked about this before, about expanding the definition of white supremacy, that it's easy to just focus on a photo and be blind to other inequalities. Right. In terms of, you know, I mean, this is obviously, as you say, this is one man. There are plenty of people who have done stupid things, inappropriate things, racist things, horrible things in their past, in high school, in college, you know, this in medical school. What is the process for overcoming that? What is the process for not having your life be damned by something you did, some racist act that you did or that you said? How do you atone for that?
Well, one is, the first thing you do, you cast it as a moral and ethical dialogue. It's not a matter of just offending black people because white supremacy is trashing us. It's barbaric, it's monstrous, but it's a moral issue. Whites, brown, a whole host of people ought to be just as morally outraged as black people. The same is true with black people, and other people are trashed in this regard. Jews in France, Palestinians under occupation, Tibet. It's a moral, spiritual issue. We dumb down the whole discussion if it's just a matter of liberal self-righteousness in the name of black people being offended, trashing this white brother. White supremacy must be hated. White supremacy must be trashed. But the question is, how do we attempt to engage in efforts collectively and individually together? None of us escape white supremacy, male supremacy, homophobia, transphobia, anti-Semitism, anti-Arab, anti-Palestinian, anti-Muslim. All of these vicious evils are shot through us. And if we can ascend to the moral and spiritual level, this is the legacy of Martin King. This is the legacy of John Coltrane. This is the legacy of Nina Simone. How do we keep that legacy alive? And thank God that we have some kind of context in which we can go beyond just this ugly name calling and finger pointing, because all of us in the end are fallen. All of us in the end are in some sense sinners. And if you're going to do away with all the racist elements and sensibilities, you're not going to have too many people in Congress. You're not going to have too many people on Wall Street. You're not going to have too many people on television, because all of us are shaped to some degree. Now, there's gradations. The Ku Klux Klan, gangster, capital G, yes. But there's some other gangster, small g, that's working in this regard. And the question is, how do we remain in contact with the humanity of each and every one of us so we can accent our best? I believe Brother Ralph has potential to be a great anti-racist activist, just like LBJ. He doesn't have to be in office to do that, because I don't think he can govern. But I'm concerned about him as a human being as well, not just as a governor. He's a human being. He's made in the image of God like everybody else.
Wow. Professor West, thank you so much. And you mentioned Nina Simone. I'm thinking of her singing Sinner Man right now, which sounds appropriate.
Oh, yes. You know what I'm talking about, brother. You know what I'm talking about. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Dr. West, always great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Well, stay strong.
Always great. Thank you so much.
That is... I wanted to kind of show that video because, let me see some of y'all questions. Someone cover. If you guys have any questions, let me know. But the reason that I wanted to show y'all that video, because to me, I felt it was kind of mirroring what I was saying the other day when I was talking about, I was kind of comparing Tulsi Gabbard to Ralph Northam. And I think he said it well, like, people can grow and people do grow. And we have to allow people to grow, and we have to acknowledge their growth. And that's a great thing. And bravo to you. Like, everyone grows. We all grow. I'm not the same Ty that I was when I was 20. You know, growth is inevitable. Hopefully it's inevitable. If you don't grow, you know, God bless. Something's wrong with you. But that doesn't mean you need to stay in office to grow. I think one of the issues with Northam was, it was almost pretentious in its approach, saying, I can take the easy way out if I were to step down, but I want to do the hard work by staying here and then being, no, come on, man. Are we stupid? Do you really? You know, and so before his, you know, and everyone says this, and I think there's some truth to it, like before he actually had his press conference, he almost probably could have dealt with this and got and somehow worked through this if he were to kind of do what he did the night before by saying, this is me taking, you know, complete like accountability and saying, hey, I've grown. This is in 1984, you know, and even in 1984 wasn't right, but I was still ignorant, doing some dumb stuff, and I did it, and I regret it, and I apologize. And, you know, if that would have happened, then, you know, we probably would be having a completely different conversation. But you look at that, and you look at the fact, like I said earlier, about, you know, when they had the sample ballot in Virginia, how he did not have his lieutenant governor on there who is black. You know, that all says something, and you have to look at those things, because those, you know, your actions mean something. Policy means something. And you can change and grow and not be in office. And that's the argument I was saying about Tulsi Gabbard. Like, yes, you had those views and you can grow and you were voted into office, but being voted into office in a district is different from being voted into office on the national stage, being voted to be voted into the presidency of the United States. There's a lot more opinions of your actions. You know, there's a lot more opinions. There's a lot more you have to do, and there's a lot more you have to, you know, a lot more people you're accountable to now. So, and they're going to judge you based on that, and that's just the reality. So that's kind of what I was trying to say when I was comparing the two. Like, you know, you have to face the consequences of those actions, and they're deplorable. You know, either way you look at it, it's something that by Tulsi Gabbard that, you know, you know, there's a difference between, I don't know. It's probably difficult to differentiate the two from saying something isn't right in God's eyes, but they're still human and we still love them, versus like, no, you ain't nothing. You're trying to go against us. You know, she had a whole lot of rhetoric and kind of belittling the LGBT community. And to me, it didn't fly well. And I'm super sensitive to that, obviously, because I'm Black and I understand those tactics and how those tactics were used to justify, you know, Black codes and Jim Crow and segregation. You know, the Bible would be used to then justify that, oh, being unevenly yoked, like I said, means that we shouldn't be together. And so to propagate this ideology of white supremacy and the same ideas based on these Christian, that's supposed to be bringing people together, dividing people, ideologies, you know, and you have to live with that. You have to live with that. You grow from that, you know. And I think that he'll be better outside of the office, because like you said, you can't govern. There's too many distractions. If it's about the Commonwealth of Virginia, then you should step down, because the Commonwealth thinks you're a distraction right now. So, a lot of toxic chemicals. Don't forget Northam. Oh yeah, and he's also ramming a pipeline. I think he was putting a pipeline through like a sacred historical ground where slaves were buried. Yeah, it's a pipeline compression station in the historical Black Union Hill where freed slaves were buried and Black seniors lived. So that tells you right there, he was actually he was putting a pipeline. That was one of the articles. Let me see if I can grab that right quick, because it was something that Jordan sent me earlier. I completely forgot about that till right now. Let's see. Where did he put that at? Call off environmental racism. How long was this video?
Hey, it's Jordan. I am here at Father.
This talks about.
Hey, it's Jordan. I am here at Union Hill Baptist Church. I'm here with.
So yeah, let's check this video out by Jordan. And this goes to show you like his policy. Like, it's a difference. Like when you say, yeah, I've changed, I've grown, I'm different now. But if your policy shows something else, then how do you, I don't get, how do you justify the two? Like, how do you negotiate that?
I am here at Union Hill Baptist Church. I'm here with John Wesley Laurie, and you've lived here in Buckingham County, right next to the church, on and off most of your life. We don't know for sure because court records were destroyed, but we believe your grandfather was a freedman, or a descendant, yeah. And you're right in the radius of this compressor station. It's pretty much in your backyard. can you kind of talk about just, you know, your journey? We were talking earlier, you kind of were hoping your golden years would be peaceful out here, and now they're trying to dump a giant, massive chemical contaminating compressor station.
Yes. I was hoping that, which is still, I believe it'll go away, but we don't need this polluter in our neighborhood. We don't need this polluter anywhere in the world, to be honest about it, because we do have alternate energy. And to pollute and plunder the earth for profit gain this way, it's just ungodly. 600 miles, 42-inch pipeline, enormous. Our beautiful watersheds, we don't, and sad part about it all is Dominion ACP cannot guarantee there will not be any leaks. As a matter of fact, they don't guarantee anything.
Well, all pipelines leak. It's not really a matter of if, it's just when it happens.
Exactly. And what we are looking at, what we're facing, when it leaks, then our water is automatically contaminated. Water is life, and we depend on underground water source for humans as well as our animals. I'm a farmer as well. I raise cattle, and we have several creeks on the property, and we use a well system for our water for our home. As a matter of fact, all the people in the area, all our neighbors, same way. So when our water, underground water source become contaminated, then we have no other source. What are we to do? This proposed compressor station, we know it will pollute the air. The majority of the inhabitants here are seniors. We are dealing with health issues.
I wanted to get through that, but he is moving slow. I mean, what Jordan was having a discussion with him about was the pipeline and where it's going through and how it's actually going right where, you know, freed slaves are buried and where senior citizens are living right now. And so this is something that was pushed forward by Ralph Northam. And there was at one point where, you know, people, I guess in the state legislation, they voted against it. And some, you know, Jordan can explain it more, but what Northam ended up doing was firing 2 people that went against it. So then replacing them so that it can pass. And it's bizarre. And he brought it up before, and you guys probably saw it in earlier videos. Right now, this video is just, that guy is talking like he has all day. And yeah, so we're not going to just watch through that whole thing. But, you know, actions speak louder than words. And your words have no weight. It has no relevance if your actions is counter to that. If your actions is in conflict with your words, people aren't stupid. You know what I mean? There's too much information out there. There's too many cameras around. There's too many people talking for us to not really get the truth. And sometimes when you got older people that's used to doing politics in an old fashion, they for some reason just are not grabbing a hold of the fact that it's 2019 and you just can't say shit. You just can't. There's not 3 stations that control the information anymore. And someone will have a camera, and someone will speak to someone, and it will get out. So do yourself a favor and get over the stinking thinking of old politics, thinking I can, like Hillary Clinton said, I can have one public persona and then a private persona. Because those type of things is what gets people like Donald Trump into office. Because Donald Trump, his disposition expresses a sense of just transparency. I'm saying exactly what's going on because it's just so irate and absurd things he say. It seems genuine, like this guy's at least speaking his mind and he's not lying. And so when you have someone like that, people gravitate to that because they're so sick and tired of politicians lying, politicians having a public persona and a private persona. You know what I mean? They're promising one thing and getting office and doing another. They're sick and tired of that. And there's too much information that allows us to see it. It exposes it. And now people don't have an inch of consideration for it. And they shouldn't have, because your politicians shouldn't be lying to the constituents. And so until they get rid of that old thinking, then they're going to be in the same box, and hopefully they understand, the situation that they're in. So you guys remember, this is a super chat, so chat super. Also, Jordan wanted me to show you guys some behind the scenes, and also we do have our membership. You guys can become a member for as little as $5 a month. Help support what we're doing. We'll be in Detroit next weekend. This week, we're leaving this weekend, and we'll be in Detroit all next week. Talking about the water crisis there, and we'll be traveling to a couple of other places, talking to GM workers that was laid off, and so you guys support it. Super chat, the GoFundMe, and I'm gonna just show a little video of Jordan, some behind the scenes for the members, and just to let you guys know, right now, obviously, due to my injury and things like that I'm limited in things that I can do, because I can't be in front of the computer all day because my shoulder hurt whether I sit down or stand up. I can do more standing up, but it still starts to hurt. But once all this is together for our members, we'll be having a lot of different type of behind the scene videos. Jordan, myself talking behind the scenes on interviews. What I want to do is for the members also is when we have certain, they have certain protests and certain conferences here or in New York. We want to have some of those things for our members as well, some behind the scene content, so you guys feel more inspired to become a member, to help support what we're doing, trying to get out there and trying to get the news that you want to hear about every day. So here's a video, just of Jordan, to show y'all a couple minutes of him. And yeah, we'll see.
Hey, it's Jordan. A little behind the scenes video for the members and patrons. I have been spending most of today, Tuesday, working on lining up interviews for when Ty and I hit the road next week. So Ty and I are probably going to start driving from New York this weekend to Ohio, where we're going to go to Lordstown, Ohio, where is one of the places where General Motors is shutting down its factory and laying off thousands and thousands of workers. If you remember that story, which essentially 15,000 workers were laid off in North America by General Motors after they got a $11.2 billion bailout. So that story was on the news for about a day, but then it fell off the news. So I want to get it back in the news because this is the disappearing middle class in the flesh. This is the disappearing middle class. So I want to get it back in the news. So you start thinking about, well, this is kind of what I do before I go into local stories. You start researching online, like Facebook groups, event pages, people who have posted videos, because I don't know a bunch of laid off General Motors workers. So here's an example. I just saw this video after I typed in Lordstown GM layoffs. I'll play it for you.
Here we are in Lordstown at the General Motors, the last factory in Ohio that will be closing after 60 years in Ohio. We've had General Motors to help employ our hardworking Ohio people who have dedicated their time, their lives, their hard work, their effort and energy to General Motors so they could make a multi-million dollars. And we work hard. A lot of people did well and a lot of people got screwed over in the end, but that's the way it is. I come from a family who we worked and made retirement, and that was great, but other people weren't so fortunate. And today we are going to have a vigil to mourn the loss of General Motors here in Lordstown, Ohio, which will affect many, many hardworking American people, not only here but in other areas of the country, so that the work can go for cheaper labor in other parts of the world.
So I saw that video, and right away I just clicked on the person, Wendy's page, and I sent her a message. So let me get it for you. So basically said, hey, Wendy, I'm a journalist who's going to Lordstown next week to try and speak with laid-off GM workers. I saw your video from November and wanted to see if you may know some folks who you could put me in touch with. So it's kind of like, you know, this is what I do all the time if I don't have established relationships in these locations. You just kind of look at videos online, read old news articles where people are mentioned. I also found a news article. Let me see. Yes, I found a news article from protests that were happening where teachers in Lordstown were actually doing events protesting the GM layoffs for in support of General Motors, because a lot of the teachers, you know, their students' parents work at General Motors, so their students are being affected because, you know, a lot of these parents that worked at General Motors that are being laid off, whoever worked at General Motors is getting a 7-day notice. Do you want to? You have 7 days to decide if you want to transfer to a plant in Texas or out of state, and it's literally ripping couples apart, where the father has to go to another plant to make a living, but didn't want to uproot his whole family, so the mother and the kid stay behind. So I emailed a teacher from Lordstown, Ohio.
I hate that. I'm sorry. Every time I put the video on, I forget to put the sound up. But what I'm saying is, so that's what we want to do. You know, the behind the scenes work. In addition to that, what I want to do as well is what I used to do when I was with the Young Turks. We would do, and you guys probably see those now. If you still watch the Young Turks, they have a thing called the Breakdown. Well, that started when I was there, and we would, you know, grab certain topics, you know, make a video of that, you know, whatever daily topic it is, we would put like a short 5-minute video and someone would be talking and having those videos. And we want to do those videos also for the members, and it's all intended to inspire people to become members and to support us so we can have the money to be able to go on the road and do the work that needs to be done, because it all costs money. And, we want to, if you're paying money and you're getting some behind, we want to make it worth it. So at the time, like I said, it's just me that's doing the editing and stuff. We do have Colin that's been helping out a lot. Matter of fact, shout out to Colin. Since I've been sick, he's been doing a lot of the edits for Jordan's lives. But it'll be me getting things together. But we're going to start doing those short videos, edited videos of, different situations. Like one would be the thing that I'm about to talk about right now, which is Liam Neeson. Now, if you guys, I'm sure you guys know, and you guys heard what he said, and so unfortunate. I don't know what you want. It's so unfortunate that he just doesn't, he doesn't get it. And I feel that the reason that he does not get it is because people shy away from racism, shy away from the topic of it, and they wonder why, when it's addressed and things happen, that people get so upset. It's because you don't understand the effects of it. Like Ralph Northam doesn't understand the deep-rooted emotions that come with blackface, the deep-rooted emotions that come with the KKK. You know what I'm saying? We still hold it. We haven't forgot that, If you joked around and was wearing, or what Roseanne did when she had the outfit on as a Nazi and then had the little cakes or the cookies that was made up of like people, which was insinuating Jewish people, in the oven. Like, those things are deep rooted. People died, people were enslaved. And sometimes people may not even understand what they're doing. And I think the fact that they don't understand it is because we don't address it. We don't talk about it. The more we address something, the better way we can approach it and understand it and empathize with it more. You know what I mean? It's the understanding. It's the misunderstanding is the reason why we're always having these large conflicts and clashes when it comes to racism, because no one wants to talk about it. We just want to sweep it under the rug. No matter how much you sweep dirt under the rug, it's just going to build up into a pile. And you need to address that pile of dirt. You have to. And that's talking about it. That's crying. That's being emotional. That's yelling. But you have to address it. Because it seems like, on face value, it seems like he really he don't really get what he said. And I think he don't get it because we don't speak on it. And I'm going to just read it, and then I'm going to read a tweet that I tweeted out, because I think it just goes to what I'm saying. So, Liam Neeson recalls wanting to kill a black bastard after a friend was raped. Let's see if we can play the video.
We all want more for less, and Spectrum delivers. Spectrum TV has tons of HD, includes your favorite sports channels, and offers thousands of free shows and movies on.
So let's see if you guys, it should be playing, make sure.
With no data caps and a free modem. Get Spectrum TV and Internet for $89.98 a month. Plus, save up to 40% on your wireless bill with Spectrum Mobile. Click to learn more.
Actor Liam Neeson recently told The Independent that after someone close to him was raped, he was looking for a black bastard to kill. Neeson said during an interview to promote his new film Cold Pursuit that when he learned of the sexual assault, he asked for details about the attacker and learned he was black. The actor then stated, "I went up and down areas with a Kosh, hoping I'd be approached by somebody. I'm ashamed to say that, and I did it for maybe a week, hoping some black bastard would come out of a pub and have a go at me about something, so that I could kill him." Neeson further commented, "It was horrible, horrible when I think back that I did that, and I've never admitted that. It's awful."
you guys get the gif, so you've seen it. And I don't need to read it because it kind of explained everything. And I know you guys heard the story. So if you think about what he said, he's telling a story. He's being candid and saying, I was looking for any black bastard that I can kill. And he had, what is the thing that he had in his hand? What is it called? Revealed, saying, found, rape. Ooh. I don't know. I forgot the name of it, but what it is, it's like one of the things that, and like the guy that leads the orchestra, that little stick, I guess it has a sharp point and you can kill somebody with it. He had that in his hand and he was going to kill any black bastard that he saw. And he said he felt bad about it, and oh, my shoulder's killing me. He felt bad about it, and he can't even, he's like amazed that he even thought that. And I mean, genuinely, if you look at it at face value, just like, oh yeah, he's telling us, he seems like what he was saying is, this is how I felt, and now I feel bad. But I think what he's missing, what he's not understanding, is kind of what I tweeted, and I want to kind of put out, say my tweet. Let me see. I should have had that ready. Twitter. This is what Jordan does. Messages, notifications. Okay. Let's see. Okay, here we go. See if we can make it bigger. All right. So, in my tweet, it says, how do I start? Okay. I think one of the biggest problems we face in America is racism. We have never got over racism because we have never dealt with racism. No one wants to talk about it. And it's because of that we have these anti-hero type stories about wanting to kill a black bastard that I saw, and trying to see it in the sense of revenge instead of targeted racism. Any black bastard walking down the street didn't kill your friend, didn't kill his friend. One bastard that happened to be black did a horrific thing to his friend. It would be a different story if he said, I was looking for any male bastard. At least then we could say, okay, maybe it was too general of a spectrum, but at least he is saying all men seem, the hate seemed equal due to the horrific rape. And the fact that you're uncomfortable with calling it racism, calling racism honor, then you don't know the legacy of Emmett Till, Liam Neeson. And you don't appreciate the legacy of slavery and racism in this country. This is a moral issue, and you shouldn't have to be black to call hate hate. So obviously I read that all crazy and messed up, but the gist of what I was saying is this. It would have been a different story if, when he said, I want to kill any bastard, any male bastard. You know what I mean? But you're saying, the insinuation is, I'm going to kill any black person, as if this is, this is a revenge on black people. A man raped your girl or your friend. It was a male that happened to be black. You know what I'm saying? When you say I'm about to go kill this black bastard, you're calling it's the black people. Like any black person now has to take the brunt of what this one person did, which means you're putting everyone in a group instead of looking at this asshole did a horrific thing, this bastard, and now I want to kill any bastard on the street. You're saying this black bastard, like almost insinuating black people, this is what they do. You know what I mean? It has that spirit. And if you don't understand that, you don't get that, then that's where you're missing the point. And I think the reason that you don't get it and really understand why, he probably wondering, why are people saying I'm racist? I'm telling a story of how I grew and how horrific this story is. And I can't believe that I was thinking it. But also, you got to call it what it is. It's not being heroic. You know what I mean? It's white supremacy. And you're using that rape to justify targeting black people. And saying, oh, black people do this, so it's black. If it was a white person, you wouldn't say, oh, Irish. I don't believe that. You would just probably want to kill anybody. I just wanted to kill any man on the streets, probably what you would have said. Any Irish man, any Italian. No, and that's disingenuous. But obviously he's trying to cover up because it's his job, and, you know, that's what people do. And whatever, it's understandable. People want to save their job. I get it. But if you can't call it what it is, then you're missing the point. You're missing the boat. And I think that's the bigger thing, is understanding why he's not, because and everyone is apologizing to black people like, yes, we get it. It's black people. You're targeting black people, but everyone should be outraged. I shouldn't have to be black to be outraged of racism. I shouldn't have to be gay to be outraged of seeing somebody being beat and having bleach poured on them and a rope tied around their neck because they're homosexual. I don't have to be homosexual to think that that's hate and hate that. I shouldn't, you know, the perpetrator or whoever shouldn't just be a politics. It should be an American issue. As Americans, as people, we shouldn't take it. Everyone should be offended. Yes, black people are offended, but everyone should be offended. And that's the issue. And the reason why people are not offended is because we don't talk about it. We don't address it. We sweep it under the rug, and then nothing happens. And all of a sudden, Ralph Northam is apologizing to black people. His college is apologizing to black people. Liam Nielsen is apologizing to black people and thinking that this is a black issue when it should be a people issue. It's a people issue. And this is exactly in the spirit of what Cornel West was saying. This is a moral issue. This is our issue. And when it becomes our issue and not their issue, then we can start doing some shit and moving forward. You know what I mean? Allies, yeah. Yes, this is our issue. Our issue. When you talk about black people, it offends me. And when you talk about gay people, it offends me as much as it offends a gay person. Because he's obviously, it probably offends them more because I'm not gay. Obviously, I acknowledge that the hurt that they feel, it's you know, certain things that you have to be a part of to really get that. Like, it's certain, you just can't feel the hurt, that racism, that's something that happened that we still feel the residue of, but that happened, you know, that was supposedly, quote unquote, eradicated, you know, a little over 100 years ago, still affects us now. Like, it's like you really have to, and I get that, but at the same time, everyone should be offended by that. And I think that's a huge issue. If offense stopped becoming, you know, a group thing and instead of a us thing, then maybe we can move forward. Everyone should be offended by seeing that blackface. He shouldn't just be apologizing to black people. Yes, you can apologize to black people, but you should be apologizing to people, to America, to Virginia, to the world. Yes, you want to kill a black person. You should be apologizing to the world. That's offensive. Should be offensive to everyone. Everyone should be offended. And I think, you know, that's where we need to get. And that's how I feel about that. And, yeah. There is a story about on Nancy Pelosi. And Jordan's really passionate about this story. And I think this goes by, me and Jordan we've been kind of going back and forth about, and you guys been hearing it as well, about Harris. I'm trying to find this thing. Let's see. Statute, Constitution. Nancy Pelosi, she's reassuring. What did I do with that email? Okay, here it is. Nancy Pelosi's aide. I thought I already had it up. My bad, you guys. Nancy Pelosi's aide. Top Nancy Pelosi aide privately tells insurance executives not to worry about Democrats pushing Medicare for all. This is by Ryan Grimm. I love Ryan Grimm. I worked with him a few times when I was at the Intertext. I think he's great. Yeah, Kamala Harris. This kind of goes to what Jordan was talking about with Kamala Harris, how the next day she was like, oh, she kind of just flipped the script and said, oh, no, you know, we don't have to eliminate. If having Medicare for all means eliminate, you know, people being able to privately pick their doctors, initially she was like, yeah, well, it needs to be eradicated because it's not working. Next day she flips the script. No, I mean, we'll work it out. We don't have to eradicate it. You know, if it calls for letting it go after everyone got at her. So this kind of goes to that point. Less than a month after Democrats, many of them running on Medicare for all, won control of the House of Representatives in November, the top health policy aides to then prospective House Speaker Nancy Pelosi met with the Blue Cross Shield executives and assured them that the party leadership had strong reservations about the single-payer health care and was more focused on lowering drug prices, according to sources familiar with the meeting. Pelosi advisor Wendell Primus detailed 5 objections to Medicare for all and said that the Democrats would be allies to insurance industry in the fight against single-payer health care. Wow. Primus pitched to ensure on supporting Democrats on efforts to shrink drug prices, specifically by backing a number of measures that pharmaceutical lobby is opposing. Primus, in a side presentation obtained by The Intercept, criticized single payer on the basis of cost, opposition, and implementation challenges. We have recreated the side of sources protection purposes. Democrats, Primus said, are united around the concept of universal coverage, but see strengthening the Affordable Care Act as the means to the end. He made a presentation to the Blue Cross executives on December 4th. We don't discuss private meetings. If there was such a meeting, said a BCBS spokesman. Primus said that he did not discuss any kind of deal with the insurers. Henry Connolly, a spokesman for Pelosi, said that the assessment of single payer was not related to any deal making with the industry. We're not going to barter lowered prescription drug costs for inaction in the rest of the healthcare industry. The presentation was a broad look at healthcare environment and some of the House Democrats' legislative priorities over the next 2 years in a period of the GOP control of the Senate and the White House. So as we see, Democrats doing what Democrats do. This goes back to what I was talking about earlier. Having a public perception and a private perception of our persona, a public persona and a private persona. In public, they're for Medicare. They're for Medicare for all. You know, you don't really hear people talking about single payer, but they're for Medicare for all. And now they're saying, no, we don't want it. We just want to make the ACA better. Which it was something that they were talking about 2 years ago when Trump was trying to get rid of ACA. It was like, no, why don't we make it better? And now you can see this is what they were talking about, reassuring the insurance industry that we're not going for it. And you're going to see it. This is all true. This is all something that you will see happen. You will see Democrats backing down on Medicare for all. Out of all the people that is for Medicare for all right now, the people in the running, I think it's 7. I think 6 out of 7, or 7 out of 7 are all for Medicare for all right now. And you'll see the dichotomy once everything starts to roll out. So that's what I got for y'all today. That's it. I see people falling off. Let me see if you guys have any questions. Ask me something and I'll answer some questions before I get out. Oh man, my shoulder's killing me. Well, your leader's in the orange. Remember, status quo journalism. You guys remember, this is a super chat. You can super chat, or you can go to the GoFundMe and support our journalism, support our traveling while we'll be out next week. I do. I was dirt poor as a kid, lived. This is Sway Ocean. What's up, Sway? Appreciate you, pimping. Lived next to a hog-sty. No joke. Nothing but beans for weeks. Wow. That's crazy. If you guys have any questions about what we're talking about today, any opinions? America doesn't know what it's like to be poor. Nito, 1980. Interesting. Being poor is relative. So to me, I would say, and when I say relative, I mean depending on where you live. So you don't want to discount someone's experience because there's a country that's more poor than America. So poor, I think it's unfair to say that poor, people in America don't understand what poor is. They do in relation to America. I see homeless people, even though you're right. When I was in Ghana, I went to Ghana, and I tell you the truth, we do have more resources for homeless people than a lot of countries. And I don't even think Ghana is considered a third world country right now. And real talk, just regular people, if they're not working that day, easily can be poor. I was there, soap, they had soap. Soap was $2, $5. And you had people working at the hotel we were staying in was making $2 a day. So there are countries, obviously, that's way poorer than we are, but I think it's unfair to discount Americans and say that they don't understand poor when it's all relative to where you're living. I think they do in the context of America. And poor people can't see outside their scope because they don't have the resources. So I think it's unfair to say that. Who got a question? I see Sway Ocean. Ty, if you could do one thing, one big action to end racism garbage, what would it be? Wow, that's a great question. If I can do one thing to approach ending racism, if I can do one thing, God, I would want to, if I can do one thing, I would want to bring people together that have open minds and have polarizing perspectives on race, and have them in a room and have them talking by themselves and just going and just talking through it. 2 hours, 3 hours, talking through it, and have a broadcast. I would have segments like that, because I think the bigger issue with racism is not discussing it. You have to discuss racism. You have to talk about it. It's very nuanced. It's not black and white. And people are destroyed because of lack of knowledge. It even says that in the Bible. And the fact that people don't understand, because the main issue is being understood. People feel like they're not heard and they feel like they're not understood. And if you can have people that's open, you have to be open though, and just have them in a room talking. People are good. The majority of people are. And I think that they feel like they're doing what's best. And a lot of times, if you don't experience racism, a lot of white people don't. The Daily Show did this thing where there's a survey, statistics saying the most racist city is Boston. And he went to somebody on the Daily Show, went to Boston, interviewed all white people, said, no, Boston don't have any racism. All the white people said no. Then they interviewed the black people, and they said, yeah, different experiences. And if you don't understand racism because you don't get it, then you may not see that it's there. You may not understand it. And I think that would be one of my bigger things is discussion. Talk about it, address it, bring it up. That's it. I think I think we will get so far if we can do that. If that can be, and also what has to be done as well, I think both of these have to be done in concert because you said one thing, Sway, but we need to change the history books. You know what I'm saying? You're eliminating American history by not telling the truth, by not putting black history is American history. Black people contribute a lot to this country, and it needs to be told. You know, we have a dark history that needs to be told. The history books needs to be changed. That's acknowledgement. People want to be acknowledged. We need to tell the truth. Native Americans want to be acknowledged. Black people want to be acknowledged. You have to do that. You know what I'm saying? There's a reason why we celebrate the 4th of July. There's a reason why that it's a holiday and that we make sure we remember it and acknowledge it every year. There's a reason why that they made that a holiday. There's a reason why they made Thanksgiving a holiday. They want you to remember and understand what happened. Obviously, it's a lie, but their lie, they want you to think it's the truth and understand that it's because they know that you can easily forget and forget what it took to make America 4th of July, what America is. And so we celebrate it in acknowledgement of it every year. And they want you to think that, oh, this was a bartering thing, the reason why we got these Americas and the natives gave it to us. They want you to feel that. So they propagate this every year because they want you to remember. When they take things away, they want you to forget and act like it didn't happen. Every dictator, what's the first thing that they do? They burn the books. They burn the history. You know what I'm saying? So, because they want you to forget, and then they can create their own history, like what Thanksgiving is. They created their own history. So I think one of the bigger things addressing racism as well is the history books have to change. Kids need to understand what it is. And then they'll have a better appreciation for it. And then you start to have more discussion about it. And it's acknowledged and it's understood. I think both of those things would be something that I think would radically change America and our perspective on racism. Is that the lack of knowledge, the lack of acknowledgement is always the argument. Think about the argument when it comes to race. It's about acknowledgement, understanding, and the truth. People want the truth. You know what I mean? What other questions? I'm sorry, you guys. My arm is like killing me right now. Let's see. Ty, you look like you have a question. Why? I know, right? The teacher, my arm is hurting, dog. My bad. Love your perspective on all racist shit out there. For sure, Kelly. I appreciate you. I see Kelly on there all the time. Ty, if you could, okay, that's one. Ty, you look like you have a question. They don't know poverty in other parts of the world. You know, donkey running milk trucks. Yeah, I guess. I mean, like I said, what I said, Cheryl, I appreciate you. I'm not sure what that means. They don't know poverty in other parts of the world. You don't donkeys running milk trucks. Okay, I don't really get what you're saying, but if that's an argument, if it's an argument for what I was saying, then, you know, that's understandable. But I think, to me, like I said, it's almost a fucked up approach, really. You know, because you can always use someone else's experience to undermine another person's experience, and I think that's unfair and it's fucked up. Because then what you do is you minimize, like, regardless if, you know, whatever the case may be, if, you know, let's say I'm feeling bad because, you know, I can't pay my cable bill. I don't want to, that's kind of trivial. But, you know, if I feel bad about something, whatever, anything that happened to me, you say, yeah, I couldn't eat something. Well, people in Africa are starving. Yeah, people in Africa are starving, but what does that have to do with how I'm feeling right now? Like, that's almost saying, oh, police kill black people, unarmed black people all the time. Oh, well, there's way more police officers that get killed than black people that get killed. That's kind of the same connotation. That's the same spirit. Is what you're saying. Well, so what? This happens too. Now what? You know, so that kind of it kind of has that same spirit. And I don't think you want to have that approach. Yeah, I think we can acknowledge both without trying to undermine the other, because then you undermine people's experience and they feel isolated. And I don't think that's a good approach to anything, you know? Ty, if you were to walk in a horse or a house in the U.S. and a horse in Latin America, the way they are treated, and you can't compare it, huh? I don't understand that, Cheryl. A horse. Break it down to me. Tell it to me like I'm 5 years old. I don't get that. I could be one thing. It's the tie saves the world thing. I heard that. That's funny. Sal, I agree with you. He said, well, I agree with part of it. He says the last thing we need is a conversation about race. Black people need to demand policy that is specific to their needs. Is that not having conversations about race? You don't think having a conversation about race will include policy? Yeah, I think for some reason you're dividing the two, and I think they go right together. You can't talk about race issues without talking about policy. It's policy that put us in this position. You know, with the black code, that's policy. When they start to implement laws in the turn of the 16th century, that's policy. To differentiate indentured servants from slaves, that's policy. You know what I mean? The criminal justice, what happened in 89, when they started to put all these circumstances and amendments around criminal justice, having this thing called conspiracy, where if someone blames you for giving them drugs, that they can convict you and give you life without any evidence but just hearsay. Like, that's policy. Those are all policies. That's discussion of race. I think they're both, and I think we're saying the same thing, bro. Sal, I'm talking to Sal. How come the United States is the only country out of all the black slave-owning countries to have a black ruler? Who is a black ruler in this country? So I can know. No, you're not talking about Obama. You can't be talking about Obama. Noodle 1980. You're not talking about Obama. A ruler? We have 3 branches of government. Equal power. Definitely not a ruler. And if you pay attention to American politics, you see how much he was blocked during this policy. You see when they said, we're blocking everything when he first got into office and he's going to be a one-term president. So he's not a ruler. He's a president, but not a ruler. The reason that we don't have rulers, right? Like a kingdomship. Like, he wasn't a ruler player. So I'm not sure what's going on. And if the argument is that, well, you guys have grown, nobody is not denying the fact that we progressed. Of course, we have. That's what we're supposed to do. But it's never been government that's allowed us to progress. It's always been the people. The government we would continue to be slaves right now if it wasn't for the people that moved forward. We wouldn't have the Civil Rights Act if it wasn't for the people that said it. We wouldn't have gay liberation if it wasn't for the people. You know what I mean? the study on AIDS during the 80s if it wasn't for the people. It was the people that pushed policy forward. So us having a black president says that, yes, we have progressed, but we have a long way to go, player. Please believe it. I mean, Trump is a complete reaction to his presidency. It lets you know that we still got far to go. So I'm not sure if you're feeling that or not, but that's the reality of it. What we got here? No, there isn't. I won't accept racist policies, just FYI. We can help the blacks by helping everyone. Racism doesn't stop racism. No, racism doesn't stop racism. I think you're right, Sway. Racism doesn't stop racism. But you can't help blacks by helping everyone. When you help blacks, you help everyone. It's not the other way around. You know what I mean? When you put things in law that help blacks, like the civil rights movement then was used to liberate for the women's rights movement and the LBGT rights, all those things came out of civil rights movement. So when you help them, you help the entire country. When you help black people, you're helping America, period. You can help women and not help black people. You can help gay people and not help black people. When you help black people, that's, when you talk about trickle down, that is really trickle, because it's the status quo. It's ground zero. Black liberation is ground zero. It liberates everyone. It liberates everyone, period. It does. Look at the policy. Look at when you think about everything that's come out of the civil rights, it all, like, those liberations came out of the Civil Rights Act, with the Civil Rights Title IX, all those came from the Civil Rights Act. So it's when you help black people, you help the rest of the country, not when you help the country's been helped without helping black people. People talk about the good old days and talk about the 50s like that was great. Ask a black person how the 50s were for them. Period. The 80s even were. 70s, 60s. We lived in a different America, player. But when you help, everyone gets helped. That's what happens. Not when you help the country. What else we got? Trump. Y'all remember, this is Super Chat. Appreciate it. If you want to have one of those specific conversations built strictly around policy, then I'm down. Well, yeah. But, okay, Sal Ducci, I think you're right, but how do you divide race and policy? Like, you can talk about policy, but you have to invite race in it. You have to invite LGBT, because all these things are put in place. They have policy to put in place to stop certain people from being able to do something. They had policies that stopped gay people from being married. So then you have to address the gay community. You cannot not address that. And they used the Civil Rights Act to pass that in the Supreme Court. Like, there's no way you can talk about policy and not talk about, why are we passing policy? For what? For people. For the provisions of people, right? Their rights. We're moving forward. We're trying to live up to the idea of what America is supposed to be. And I don't know how you can do one without the other, Noodle 1980. Noodle's 1980. Why they keep, what are you talking about that Jordan keep, like, erasing your messages, player? All right, y'all. I think I'm going to skate out of here because my arm is killing me. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. Thanks for the support. Don't forget, me and Jordan to be out. This weekend, we'll be in Ohio, Detroit. You guys support GoFundMe, support the live chat. And we appreciate your support. You have been supporting, and we appreciate you. And I appreciate the discussion, too. I think this discussion right here, what we're having, is good. I think we should have this discussion. I hate to feel like Ty wouldn't Obama had that discussion prior to the Obamacare was installed. What? Ty wouldn't Obama had that discussion prior to, had what discussion, man? Cheryl? Had what discussion, Cheryl? Tell me what discussion you're referring to so I can know. Wouldn't Obama have had that discussion? I want to address Cheryl right quick. I love her. I think she support is amen. Noodle, I enjoy the conversation. So let me just say this while I wait on Cheryl. This type of conversation, and honestly, I'm gonna try to, there's a way that we'll be able to, the software that I have that I'm trying to figure out right now will allow us to allow some of our audience to be able to come in on a discussion, because discussions like this, I think we should have. So look, this discourse and dialogue is great, dog. We don't have to agree. What happens when you have people that's open-minded and trying to understand, if the idea is I'm trying to get it, then we can have a productive discussion. If it's just I'm trying to say what I want to say and I'm closed to anything, then obviously it can't be productive. You can't just say I want to talk about policy and be close to a discussion about race. Let's do both. It's okay. It's really okay. The discussion we're having right here, it's okay. I think it's great. The only thing I dislike about it is that I'm the loudest voice. And that's why I want to, once we get everything up, I want to be able to have people call in, come, and then we can discuss as well, because I think it's important. Rather we disagree now or not. At some point, we're going to reach something if we continue to talk and things start to make sense, but it starts with this discussion. So I really appreciate this, us having these talks and this message board. Shell, he talked about it with his staff, right? Okay, about healthcare program before he had healthcare program to be installed. Yeah, if you're saying, did Obama talk about healthcare? Yeah, he talked about it. And then he got it. I'm not sure. The point is that you discuss it first and you talk about it. If you're saying that, then yes. You talk about it, you put it in the ethos, and then we try to move it forward. I mean, that's with everything. But you have to talk about it. You have to get people to understand. You have to entreat people. You have to talking to the choir does nothing. You know what I mean? We gotta open up, and maybe that's a different approach. You have to be able to articulate your point in different ways so different people can get it. Maybe criminal justice reform is a social issue for Democrats, but criminal justice reform is an economical issue for Republicans. So you need to know how to express that to both so that you can get them on your team and really understand it. Maybe socially they don't get it, but how much money it costs, and we're jailing people that have minor non-violent offenses for selling weed. It's that's costing us a lot of money. Oh, Republicans get it. Conservatives get it. And I think that's a good point. We're still giving criminal justice pass. You know what I mean? The First Step Act, I mean, you think about it, talking to people that agree with me, we're just, hey, we're all in a group and no one's, like I said earlier, if you're in a position where everyone's thinking the same, guess what? No one's thinking. I don't mind someone challenging what I say. Let's talk about it. Let's have this discussion. I think this is amazing. I think talk, discuss, yes. And so that's why I want to have more people on and talking and actually people being able to hear your voice so that I won't have the loudest voice while we're discussing. And I think you guys probably agree with that. Hopefully you do. This will be the last. Sal says, the policy discussions I want to have is based on race, the black race. I misunderstood what you said at first when you said, let's have a discussion. I just don't want it to be a discussion about everybody. Oh, okay. Yeah, for sure. Everybody's feelings, because those discussions never go another or anywhere. Yeah, I think you're right. And I think it's about that. And I would love to talk to you so people can hear your voice as well, because let's have the discussion. And I would want to have a discussion with people that think different. And let's talk about it, because a lot of times people think different because that's all they hear. And a lot of people aren't curious enough to do research or, you know, think about algorithms and everything. When we go and we look up stuff, guess what? Based on what we always search is what we get. We don't get anything that's in contrast to it. So it continues to keep us in this box of everyone thinking. That's why I'm so intentional about just watching Fox. Even though they spew bullshit, sometimes you hear something like, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. It's absurd, like what's going on. Like what was happening with Ralph Northam with the whole third trimester thing. I think it sounds crazy, and it is crazy. But as you think about it more, it's like really, really nuanced. And if you discuss it and you talk about, damn, that's a crazy issue to have to be. Okay, can you answer the question of Cynthia? Cynthia, what question did she ask, Patrick? Give me her question and I'll answer it, Patrick. Write her question plainly and I will answer it. But you look at it and then you got to think, you know what? I've never been in a situation where my wife is about to have a baby, and now I got to make a decision whether I want to this baby say, okay, my wife could die, so no. Because if I say no, then that means my baby died. Like, that's a tough decision. And, like, I almost feel, like, crazy to even argue that. Like, that's a real sensitive thing to be in. When you hear it on his face, it's like, oh, of course not. That's murder. Yes, it is. But who dies? Does the wife die or does the baby die? Wow, right? What do you say? But I think the language in that, though, is not. It's just saying the wife she maybe have some mental or physical issues. What is that? That's broad. So I don't like that policy at all. You ain't killing no baby in 3 months, like in the third trimester when it's a baby. If it's just the mother may have some physical damage, what is that physical damage? Be more specific. Like, she can live, or she may have to learn how to do something, or what's going on. That's crazy. Okay, what's Cheryl? Yes. Well, old people are slow, but they can adapt when people are expressed. It is so people can comprehend it. I want to know what Cheryl is saying. Oh, Cynthia. I'm sorry, Cynthia. I don't think it's Cheryl. Cynthia. What's Cynthia's question? Let me find Cynthia. Where's Cynthia? What's the question Cynthia asked? Because I don't see her. Sorry, I missed her question. Can you tell me what Cynthia asked? I want to answer that before I go. Please. Okay, Patrick, tell me what she asked. Wanted to know your thoughts on Cynthia. Okay. Cynthia McKinney. I don't know who Cynthia McKinney is. Is she a politician? Because I'm not sure who she is. Let me see. My shoulder. University of Southern California. She went to my school. This is Cynthia. She a doctor? Is she a doctor? Okay, it's not from her. It's about her. I don't know much about her. I need to check it out, and I'll tell you what I think about her. It seems like she's a doctor. She actually graduated from USC. I honestly don't know anything about her. I haven't heard about her. I haven't really been watching the news as much. But I'm going to find out about her and read about her and see exactly what she's about. Is that cool? thoughts about her. Former Congresswoman, yeah, I see that. Ran for the Green Party, I think. There he goes. Okay, yeah, I'll check her out. I see that she was a former U.S. State Representative. Graduated from USC. She wrote some books. Ain't Nothing Like Freedom. She was in Georgia's 4th District from 2005 to 2007. I'll see what I think about her. Did she do something recently? Are you just curious to know? Is she running for office now? I'm sorry, you guys. My arm is like killing me. Oh, she's thinking about running for president. Interesting. I'm going to look her up and check her out. Okay. So I'm going to get off this dog because I'm like dying right now. I love y'all. Appreciate y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Got like 36 people hanging with me. We had 110 and we dropped off, but I appreciate, this is the crew right here. This is the Thai crew that lives with me and appreciate me, and I appreciate you guys too as well. So I'll see y'all in a bit. And, you know, in the coming weeks, I'm going to start doing more lives. You'll see a little more structure, things like that. I love y'all. Peace.